What are you watching there, Chris?
I'm watching Chelsea playing to a draw right now with Burnley, but thankfully there's still a lot of game left. We're in minute 30, so we still got another hour to go.
You were talking about Ross Barkley getting the start over Hakeem Ziyech. That's
Controversial.
news.
Yeah.
That's news. And by the way, I did a horrible job of introducing this. This is the meeting of the minds. Alex Perez, Chris Sued, live in Queens, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, it is happening. This isn't my usual setup. My bed isn't here. My TV isn't here. My computer isn't in the background. This is Nick Diaz's setup. Shout out to him, host of Veterans Minimum, and he's part of the Blue Wire family. He's letting us use his spot. We have something cooking up with him as well, but it's so surreal to have you in front of me and not on my computer screen.
Yeah.
Through a Zoom call. It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, it's you seem a lot bigger in life. But yeah, it's been 2 years of us doing podcasts, and
Yeah.
it's a breath of fresh air to finally do it in person as we should. It's you get to tease me in person now about my club over here. They have me in strings pulling this draw, but yeah.
It's early in the game, dude. What are you stressing out about? Come on.
Burnley pulled a low block on almost anybody. And
Ask Arsenal.
Yeah.
They always do it to Arsenal, apparently. Poor Arsenal. Shout out to all the Arsenal fans. Nick is an Arsenal fan.
Is he really?
He is.
Poor guy.
I know. Shout out to my guy Miguel too, if he's watching this. He's an Arsenal fan. I know a lot of Arsenal fans, dude.
Yeah.
I know
me too.
plenty of Arsenal fans. It's crazy because they became fans like 2004, 2005-ish. Obviously, why would they become fans right now? There's no reason to. But yeah, there's a lot of Arsenal fans. And Nick and I were talking about this when I arrived on Thursday night. We're recording this. Today's Saturday, what? Today's Saturday the 5th or the 6th? Today's the 6th.
Yeah, I lost my track of days.
Okay, well, today is the 6th of November, and I arrived here the 4th, and we were talking about, he asked me, like, what team do you root for in football? And I told him, I root for Tom Brady. He's like, that's such a Gen Z thing to say. I'm like, yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess you're right. I can't say that I root for the Buccaneers because I don't. I root for Tom Brady. But yeah, man, it's just funny how like nowadays people really root for a player rather than for a team. And I think it showed 3 years ago when Cristiano Ronaldo left Real Madrid and everyone suddenly became a Juventus fan. It showed this past summer. Lionel Messi leaves Barcelona. All of a sudden, everyone watches PSG games. No one would watch them before, right? And there was an appeal to watch them. Mbappe, Neymar, Di Maria, but now it's like, okay, I'm going to watch Messi. But it's pretty crazy, man. And are you the only Chelsea fan in your friend group? Because I've actually met a couple Chelsea fans, but they're like kind of scattered. And goal for Chelsea. Kai Havertz.
There you go.
33 minutes in?
The gem.
Okay, 33 minutes in and Chelsea scores. It's 1-0. This is live and authentic. Chris's reaction live and authentic. He is having a good time, as he should be. There's Ross Barkley. It's so surreal to see him on the pitch.
I can't believe it. I honestly thought he was a dead man walking when the transfer window closed and Inter Miami said thanks but no thanks. That's got to be like the low point of his career.
Jesus.
That an MLS club rejected him. And now look, he's starting a Premier League match for the Champions League holders. So there you go, man. Don't give up on your dreams.
Don't.
I'm sorry, not Ross. It was Reece James with a peach of an assist.
Reece James is having a good season, isn't he?
Oh my God, yeah, he's
Scored a couple against Newcastle.
Yeah, scored against Arsenal.
Scored against Arsenal. That was a banger.
He's slowly but surely taking that spot from Azpilicueta, which is great to see. Don't get me wrong, I love Azpilicueta. He's been a great servant, but it's great to see it coming naturally, where there's not this like tug of war between the fans of who should play. It's like organically becoming Reese's job, which is great. But to answer your question, no, I'm not the only Chelsea fan in my friend
Nice.
group. Yeah,
Okay.
shout out to Kev. Kev, I got you, man. My boy Kev he's a big Chelsea fan, huge
Mm.
Chelsea fan. Was wearing the Reece James Champions League kit last year when played them against when we played Real Madrid, and that's when I knew like, oh man, he's really about it. And
Oh
yeah,
shit.
Kev will chop it up with me on the 2012 Champions League win. We'll
Mm.
talk about Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Like it goes back pretty far.
Wow.
Yeah. He's a. I'll give you this so you can have the type of idea. He's a Las Vegas Raiders fan. So he's a character. He's an individual. He's also Atletico Madrid fan because he can't bring himself to root for one of the big two in Spain. So it takes that kind of character to be a Chelsea fan. I'll say that. You have to break from tradition, I think, to be a true Chelsea fan because
That
over
is some
here-
combination, dude.
Yeah.
That is some combination. Like,
I mean, look, I'm an Eagles fan. Like that's what I'm saying. I think you have to be some kind of character to see Man United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and say, "Nah, I'd rather root for someone else. I want to, disrupt the elite at the top." And Chelsea gradually became the elite, but you gotta, I guess, be like a Met fan, an underdog, someone who doesn't likes to break from tradition to really be a true. I think to be to pick Chelsea as your team. I know in overseas that may sound crazy, like, oh, you're picking one of the favorites and you're saying you have to break from the norm to root for them. But over here, I think the commercialization of those mega clubs like Man United and
Yeah.
Barca and Madrid, it's all we know. Like if you're gonna hear people talk about a big game and they're gonna go and see a game, it's the Manchester Derby, it's the Clásico, it's these big, huge clubs. I think Chelsea now definitely throw their name in the ring. Our name is in the hat, but I think it's still people still defer to those big clubs. So me myself, I needed a talisman to follow to become a Chelsea fan. You know the story, but for those who don't, I had to see Didier Drogba go out there in the World Cup with a cast on his arm because he couldn't let his country down, and I was like, this guy's the man. And wait, you're gonna tell me he's an actual king? Yeah, I'm rooting for whatever club he goes to. And sure enough, I was using Chelsea in FIFA 10, I think it was, or FIFA 09, whichever the one that had Frank Lampard on it, and
it was FIFA 10.
all the stars aligned. All the stars aligned.
So you were destined to be a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, my first season, I saw Ancelotti finish in second, and it wasn't good enough for Roman Abramovich, and he got fired for it. So that set the precedent of like, okay, this is a cutthroat club where second place isn't good enough, and they're not the traditional norm. They're not the ancient superpower that's a AC Milan or a Real Madrid or a Barca, but they got the cojones to challenge these guys.
Yeah.
All the stars aligned. So,
Man, that's something that almost aligns with the identity of the team. Not almost, it aligns with the identity of the team because I think I've told you this before, if I'm not mistaken, and if I didn't, well, I'll tell you right now. Whenever I think of Chelsea, I just think gritty. I think, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, I think annoying,
yeah.
pest,
Mm-hmm.
disruptors, a team that what's that saying that they what was it, like they march to the beat of their own drum or something like that. Like it's like that person that doesn't need approval from anyone. They kind of just do their thing. And I feel like that's who Chelsea is. And that's how the fans are, you know? And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I don't mean it to sound like you guys are some type of people, but yeah, like it does take a special character. Your friend Kev, he's a Raiders fan. He's an Atletico Madrid fan. He's a Chelsea fan. I can only imagine what kind of character he is.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like if, I don't know, like a producer or a writer wrote something up for him and like, all right, here you go. This is who you are. It's like perfectly meshed into the teams that he roots for. They're like perfectly meshed into his personality. I'm assuming. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That is awesome. So I don't. I'm gonna ask you this question just because you're here, and I know what answer you're gonna give me, but I want to hear it. Your favorite Chelsea memory. Actually, you know what? Let me add a caveat to this. Your favorite Chelsea memory that isn't either of the European championships that you guys won.
Okay.
Yeah, can you get a little closer to the mic, please? Just a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
There we go.
That's a great question because at first I thought, how am I going to pick between the two European championships?
I made it easier for you.
You made it maybe even harder, honestly,
Oh,
because
shit.
there are a bunch of moments that I would say characterize being a Chelsea fan, like a moment that stands out to me is Chelsea-Barcelona at the Camp Nou. Maybe I know you said I can't choose the victories, but that was the semifinal. That game, Chelsea went down a man in the first half. John Terry got sent off for a knee to the thigh of Alexis Sanchez, and that game we had no hope. Like literally, they were in our box. Frank Lampard, he says that when he crosses midfield, he thought, "Oh my God, we finally got to their side of the field," and it was like minute 40. Like it was desperation. We were down a man, and they were peppering our goal at Camp Nou, and we were holding on to a 1-0 lead. They tie it. Sergio Busquets of all people scores. So we did everything to stop the forwards. They still found their way through. It felt like, and this is Barcelona at their max. This is Iniesta and Xavi in midfield. Messi scoring like 50 league goals. Like it was like legitimately their best ever team. Like
Yeah.
I would say probably like regarding the opposition, probably the strongest team I've seen us play. We won that match. If you remember,
Yeah.
Ramirez had the chip. Yeah, I'm talking about this match and I'm seeing your face just like gradually go from a smile to a frown. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Me just like slouching on my chair. No, dude, go ahead. It was 10 years ago. I'm over it.
Yeah. But Ramirez had the chip.
That was a beautiful goal, man.
Frank Lampard set him free with a sick ass pass at midfield. That was ridiculous. That doesn't get talked about enough. A worldie of a goal. Me personally, I love Ramirez. He's one of my most favorite Chelsea players who's not a superstar, who's not Eden Hazard or Frank Lampard or one of the Didier Drogba. I thought he was so gritty and so impactful in both sides of the field, and he never got the accolades that he deserved
because he's not a superstar, like you said.
Yeah. But he was one of my favorite ever players at Chelsea. So for him to be the one that scored that goal, I knew from that moment, like, yeah, maybe this half, it seemed like it was going grim, but I have a feeling we're going to pull this out somehow, because just that moment of magic gave us the hope. They defended like their lives depended on it for the whole second half. And then, as we know it, Fernando Torres rounded the keeper and put the game away. That match just literally characterized Chelsea. It showed us, this is a team that maybe isn't there in terms of the quality of a Barcelona, but they don't give a damn. They're gonna fight tooth and nail to get that result, and that's exactly what how you describe them. They're stingy, they're gritty, they don't care. They roll to the beat of their own drum. That game really characterized to me what it meant to be a Chelsea fan, what it meant to be part of the club. And it's a beautiful memory. I sit here and I think about how I got kicked out of my college library because I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't. I was elated, Alex. I was going bonkers in there, and people were studying for finals because it was in May. I couldn't give two shits. I was going crazy. And
by yourself?
Yeah,
you weren't watching the game with anyone else?
Yeah, I was completely by myself.
That is ballsy, dude.
Yeah, I was so happy. It's being an Eagles fan and a Mets fan and a Knicks fan. All I knew was misery. So having that and knowing that I was a fan for a time before then, it wasn't that I was riding on a hot ticket or jumping on a bandwagon. It felt really, really good. It was like, I think now, no matter what happens, this is my club. Like, I'm a part of something, and I've lived it as all from minute 1 to minute 95 or whatever the extra time was. But that was no doubt one of, if it's not the best memory, it's up there. The only other thing that I would say that comes close was the Diego Costa Mourinho team that just steamrolled through the Premier League. But that didn't have the same, I would say, the same emotional value, because we'd already won a few Premier League titles. It wasn't like this was our first one, or it was our first one in a long time. It was kind of just getting back to normal for Chelsea. So that was a lot of fun that season with Mourinho and Costa, because
It was.
we were
Yeah.
painted as the villains and we were just steamrolling through everybody. That team just, if you weren't a Chelsea fan, I think everybody hated that team with Cesc and Diego and Terry and
Courtois.
and, yeah,
Courtois arrived.
yeah, Courtois came back and Petr Cech was his backup. Like, it was an absolutely loaded team. Like that's probably the best Chelsea team I've watched until now, because this team right now is really talented. And when they get there,
Tell us about it, dude. Yeah, that's a ridiculous team for sure.
When we get to, I think right now what's scary, I would say what's scary to what should be scary to other teams is that I don't think this is Chelsea's final form, and we're Champions League holders. Run away. I mean, we have the top. We're the top of the Premier League right now, and they still have another notch to get to. So I think, right, in terms of talent, I think this team is probably going to be the most talented Chelsea team I've seen. But until they get to that Mourinho, Cesc Fabregas, Diego Costa, John Terry team in 2015, I believe, or no, 2014, that was another great highlight for me as a fan. Maybe not as memorable as Camp Nou. Camp Nou, if you give me enough drinks, I'm gonna start crying thinking about that memory. It's like it's one of those that you keep in your soul, you know.
Yeah.
But that title season was a lot of fun as well.
What about the Antonio Conte season where you guys won the Premier League? Was that like it's not as fun?
I enjoyed it a lot. I would say that, because I don't think anybody anticipated us having a title challenge that year. That was the year Ibra joined Pogba and Mourinho at Manchester United. Mm-hmm. So everyone thought, this is the team that's gonna get Manchester United back to
the glory,
to their heights.
They're still waiting.
Yeah, they're still waiting. It's been 5 years and we're still waiting.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I'll say that. It was a lot of fun mounting a serious title challenge and winning it, and being happy with a top 4 finish. You know, I'll say it didn't have the same pressure as other title winning seasons. Like, I think we ran away from everybody. So it was like, I think by January we had already had a 13 game unbeaten streak, where it was like, Chelsea's gonna win the title. So it was fun, but it was kind of anticlimactic. So it wasn't like there was a lot of build up. We had just won the title 2 years before with that Diego Costa Mourinho team. So don't get me wrong, of course it's great to watch my team be successful and win trophies, but it wasn't up there emotionally for me as much as these other victories. Part of it as well may be down to how we played. Mm-hmm. We did score a lot of goals, but we were set up very defensive with Antonio Conte, with the 3 at the back and the 2 wing backs. Now, I've seen some arguments saying, how is Antonio Conte defensive when his Chelsea team outscored the Liverpool team of that same season, when his Inter Milan team outscored, the AC Milans and these Juventus sides with Cristiano Ronaldo? How could you call him defensive? And to me, I think that's a very flawed argument, because that means you're going by stats, which is one way to look at the game. But what about your freaking eyes, man?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the TV, what do you see? You see 5 defenders with the wingbacks and 2 or 3 defensive mids. So you see a very defensive team getting goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That doesn't mean he's not a defensive coach. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, I felt like it was very, very defensive. I thought we were going in there. First thing is we're keeping the clean sheet. And second thing is we may score. That's not my personal ideal way of how I want my team to play. Now, you can say, well, Thomas Tuchel plays with 3 at the back, and Thomas Tuchel plays with 2 central defensive mids. So what's the difference? Again, if you see this Chelsea team play, it's very forward. It's very free and open. Ben Chilwell and Reece James look like wingers.
Mm-hmm.
Jorginho is constantly spraying passes up front. He's no longer playing passes to the back or playing passes to the side. Even N'Golo Kante, Mateo Kovacic, these guys who aren't known for their attacking impetus, get forward and contribute very much so in the offensive phase. So it's very much the style of play that is the difference between the two managers, and why I think that looking back, that Antonio Conte run with Chelsea isn't as memorable as these other runs. But it's a great memory even still. I'm not going to sit here and think, oh man, what a terrible, terrible thought of us being 3 at the back and winning trophies. Like, no, it was a great time for what it was, but it's not up there for me personally as my favorite of times.
Okay. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I will say this, people tend, just like you said, people tend to look at the numbers and make their opinions. And I feel like stats should be, they should be like a padding to your argument. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, it should be like, okay, I'll just throw this in here because I know it helps me, but I know it doesn't hold that much weight. There's nothing like watching the full 90 minutes. Even if you watch the highlights of a game, that's not enough.
Yeah.
Watching highlights of a game is not enough. And I was talking about this when I was recording the Veterans Minimum episode, and I was asking Nick how he prepares for a show, and we were talking about you can't watch highlights and make an opinion. That is very hard to do. And it goes back to what you were talking about, the people that say that Antonio Conte isn't defensive because he outscored so-and-so team. Yeah, that's cool, but maybe a bunch of counter-attacking opportunities presented themselves because he fielded his team so deep in his own half that those counter-attacking opportunities were going to show up eventually, right? And that's what it looks like. I mean, nothing beats the eye test. Yeah. Nothing will beat the eye test. Nothing defeats watching the 90 minutes and making your own opinion. Sometimes maybe even watching the game without any commentary because you don't know what kind of bias they might come up with or they might have as they are calling the game. But yeah, man, that's crazy. And I do actually remember Antonio Conte's season like very, very fondly, even though obviously I'm not a Chelsea fan, but I remember it fondly because they were very dominant, and that's kind of what I expected from Chelsea. But I will say this, it helped them a lot that at the beginning of the season, the pressure wasn't necessarily on them.
Mm-hmm.
The pressure wasn't necessarily on them. And now you guys don't have to deal with Antonio Conte anymore. Another London team has to worry about Antonio Conte. So we have about 5 minutes before the cameras stop rolling. So you want to talk about Antonio Conte a little bit? Maybe. What do you think he would do at Tottenham? Again, we're recording this on November the 6th. Sorry. Thoughts on Antonio Conte going to Tottenham?
I think he's a hell of a manager. He really is.
Uh-huh.
Anywhere he's gone, he's instilled this warrior spirit and camaraderie. That is why I feared him at United, because I feel like that kind of those group of individuals, because that's what they are, they're not a team. Those group of individuals need a head coach like that. Someone who is going to come in and say, no, we are a team. We're a family. If you're not part of the team, kindly see the door. That's what you need at United right now. At Tottenham, it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to see. It's going to be fascinating to see if Daniel Levy keeps his promises to him and backs him up in the transfer market. There was a lot of arguments that he wouldn't do so for Mourinho. He did. He did support him in the transfer market. It didn't end up working out because the players that they brought in aren't as good as the players at these other top clubs. We'll see how it works out for Conte, because if the problem was you didn't like how Mourinho's teams played and how defensive they were, and you wanted to get back to the Tottenham DNA, I'm sorry. This is as defensive as a coach can get.
That's the thing. Let me just interrupt you really quick. And this is something that I heard on a podcast. They were talking about Daniel Levy, and I'm watching Bruno Fernandes right now. Manchester United lost the the Manchester derby. So
there's that beautiful face you love.
Oh my God! Why'd you? Fuck, dude. Listen, I have nothing personal against Ole. I just hate how confused he looks all the time. Like, dude, you are the manager of Manchester United. You should have the solutions. Anyway, we talked enough about Ole. So there was people calling out Daniel Levy, saying that he wants to play fun, attractive football, but he doesn't know what that means.
Exactly.
Clearly, he doesn't know what that means. You know why? Because he brought in Antonio Conte, and he's expecting an Antonio Conte team to play like Pep Guardiola, like Jurgen Klopp's teams. It's not gonna happen, dude.
So yeah, something's got to give here, and is Conte not the manager we think he is, which is kind of hard to say at this point because everywhere he's brought the goods. Or are Tottenham gonna act like a big club and support him and bring him the players that he needs to mount a serious title charge?
Why else would he have gone? I think there has to be a promise, just like
that's what I'm saying.
What we were talking about with.
I'm surprised he took the job, and that was my reasoning. Is like he must have got a hell of a promise. It's the same thing with we were talking about yesterday, Xavi and at Barca, but it's gonna be really fascinating. Right now, I'll be honest, I really do rate him as a coach. I think he's awesome. But I just don't see how it's gonna end up a fit, because like I said, if the style of play with Mourinho was the problem and the quality of players that they were bringing in compared to what other top clubs were bringing in, we don't see an end in sight. So Antonio Conte is not known for playing nice with his upper management. It might get ugly fast.
Very fast. The contract is only 18 months, so. Maybe Tottenham will catch a break somehow, some way. All right.
20 million euros.
Oh, Jesus.
18 months.
That's a lot of money.
Triple what Tuchel makes.
And probably not going to win any titles. Not that Antonio Conte is a bad manager. It's just that he's managing Tottenham. All right, guys. This isn't the only thing that we're going to be recording. We have a special guest aligned. And based on the timeline, I think that this is going to come out after the special guest shows up. So it's kind of dumb that I said this, but it doesn't matter. Regardless, Chris, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Next time I see you, or next time we record something, it'll be through Zoom again. So a little sad about that, but hey, this is what soccer does. This is what the beautiful game does. It brings people like us together that we might think that we don't have much in common, but in reality, we have plenty in common. Thank you so much. Chris, your social media, if you want to plug it away before the cameras just stop. We have about 30 seconds.
You can catch me on Twitter. My handle is Chris, SOLODOLO _.
There we go. Follow me on Twitter at Alex Perez FC. Subscribe to the pod. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you all. We appreciate you all. Thank you, New York. I love you. I was going to say a Conor McGregor quote, but I blanked. Either way, I wore my best jersey today. Number 9, Ronaldo, the real Ronaldo. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.